I do want to clarify something. You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, I don't support fracking at all. So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand and I do support fracking.
Will people think that Fetterman is up for the job, able to serve? And will Dr. Oz's views on things like abortion kind of scare or concern those suburban voters? But I think it's undoubtable. It's completely legitimate to say that he's still struggling with his ability to speak. Right. And you would expect that. But I think we saw that on display last night in a way that we have not seen it on display, Joe, in rallies and in other appearances that he's had.
Right. I remember Dr. Burns getting in trouble a couple weeks ago with people on the left and even some mainstream voices saying that he had trouble with small talk. Well, it was very obvious last night. And of course, he underwent had a major stroke. And so, again, the question, Willie, is not whether he is going to be able to serve. The question is, how impaired is he? And that's something that the voters of Pennsylvania are going to be sorting through, even if people on the left don't want to pretend that it doesn't exist. It does exist, but doesn't mean he can't serve as senator. That's just up to the voters of Pennsylvania.
Exactly. It's not up to us talking on TV. It's not up to people writing on Twitter. It's up to people who go into those booths less than 2 weeks from now. Fetterman's campaign says he has trouble processing what he hears. We heard that around Dasha's interview with him a couple of weeks ago. So as we told you yesterday morning, there were 2 monitors placed behind the debate moderators, one with the debate questions and another with Oz's answers. So you can see that video there so Fetterman could read it and respond. Fetterman used his first response to address his health, what he called the elephant in the room. And as we were saying, he clearly struggled at times.
Voters, I think, saw things that will definitely change the state of this race. It's not his fault, but Lieutenant Governor Fetterman struggled. And again, I'm not faulting him for it. I don't think his preparation was great, but he clearly is dealing with health issues that affect his ability to process and his ability to speak.
You talked to many, many voters in Pennsylvania. We've been watching your focus groups, and they did express concern about John Fetterman's health. So the question will be what they watched last night, the pauses we saw, some of those were him reading the prompter that was behind the moderators waiting for the question to be transcribed. Will that influence their vote? Will they go in and pull that curtain and say, you know, I don't know if I love Dr. Oz, but I'm worried about John Fetterman's health?
You know, we spoke to swing voters in Bucks County and Pittsburgh who were hesitant, and they might not be happy with the Republican choice in Dr. Oz, but they had serious questions about John Fetterman's recovery and the aftermath. And they said they were going to be watching this debate closely to see what his recovery had been like. And, you know, we have footage of those voters watching the interview that NBC's Dasha Burns conducted with John Fetterman, and they were hesitant. And, you know, we did so much work with these focus groups and did an hour-long survey with the participants we ended up bringing into the group. And so some of them in these groups would say that they were leaning Oz, but they wouldn't necessarily admit it in the group dynamic. So already I wonder if there's a little bit of kind of Trumpian embarrassment, 2016-esque, with the Oz vote, and this certainly is not going to help John Fetterman, his performance last night.
You know, Eddie, your humanity immediately kicks in when you watch that. Anybody who's known somebody in their family or a friend who's had a stroke, it's very difficult to watch. You kind of know what John Fetterman's going through there. On the other hand, he's running to become a United States Senator, and there will be voters who have doubts after watching last night.
Yeah, it was hard. And it was hard in the context of the very superficial nature in which our politics takes place today, right? So voters don't have the patience to make a distinction between his ability to articulate his thoughts and his cognitive abilities. And there was a wonderful op-ed in the New York Times this morning from Jill Taylor she's a neuroscientist. She had a stroke and what it takes, how the brain heals itself, that he's perfectly capable. But it was hard to watch. And given the way in which our politics, image, the glitz, the performance often stands in for substance. It's just a hard hill to climb.
Mr. Fetterman, we're going to begin with you. Your political experience includes serving as the mayor of Braddock, a small borough near Pittsburgh, and one term as lieutenant governor. You're running for a seat that could decide the balance of power in Washington. What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator? You have 60 seconds.
Hi, good night, everybody.